Look, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to have a little conversation to end the stream tonight around the owners, because it is getting to the time where we're all kind of on the edge of being annoyed. Is that fair to say? A lot of people frustrated. A lot of people questioning why other clubs can go out and do a lot of business. Now, what really is starting to get to me is we all knew what Chelsea were going to do. We knew that Roman Abramovich had said to Frank Lampard, here's a pile of cash, son. Go out there into the market and do what you're doing. I don't even want to go through the list of players that Chelsea have signed, because quite frankly it just makes my blood boil when I think about it. Then you've got the whole situation with Manchester City. They've already spent somewhere around £82 million I think this summer, and they're potentially looking at Messi, albeit that whole situation seems to take a new twist every 2 minutes. And then you've got Manchester United, obviously after going and getting Donny van de Beek, and are being linked with a couple of more players like Jadon Sancho. But where it really starts to get annoying for me is you see Spurs out there doing business. You see Everton out there doing business, bringing in that guy Alan, I think it is, and that is his name, from Napoli, James Rodriguez, and Decore, I think from Watford as well. They've put in a bid or had a bid agreed for him. So every club seems to be out there. Leeds United going out there and signing the guy from Valencia, dropping a whole heap of money as well, breaking their club record, I think. This is what makes me ask a lot of questions in my head. Now, the questions that I'm sure if I ask somebody who's a money person, they'd give me the answers to. It wouldn't be the answers that I'd like, but they'd give me the answers. Now, my question is, why has the coronavirus seemed to have impacted us more than any other club in the Premier League? At least clubs in the top half of the Premier League. We're a well-run club. I know that and you know that. We work within what we can afford. I understand the cautious nature of this window, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If we go through this window and we don't make more signings, there's going to be a whole lot of pissed off Liverpool fans, and a whole lot of more pressure on that squad and the manager as well, because continuity is great. Keeping the team together is really important, and we've seen what difference an extra season together made last season when we went out there and won the Premier League. But look, we're not idiots. At the end of the day, we know that we need to freshen the squad up. You see any ex-professional, Cara out there saying the very same thing. You've got people like Gary Neville saying that it could be a massive turning point in the summer if Liverpool go out and get Thiago. I'll kind of paraphrase that a little bit. I don't want to put words in Gary Neville's mouth, but it was something along those lines that he said as well. I'm patient, at least with regards to Liverpool Football Club, and I understood last summer not signing anybody, and I understood that we were to get our house in order, but it was always the case that this was going to be the summer that we freshen things up a little bit. Now, as things stand right now, it's looking like there's not much business being done, and we're nickel and diming again, and this is the type of stuff that I don't want to say is embarrassing for a football club of our stature, but there's being cautious and there's taking the piss, quite frankly, in some scenarios. And we can't have a summer where every single club around us is strengthening, and some of them strengthening tremendously, and we're just told, yeah, but like, you've got the Premier League winning squad, and you've got the best manager in the world, and you've got great young players coming through, and that's all great, and I agree with pretty much all of that. But how much of this is almost not like a punishment to Jurgen Klopp, but has he overachieved, and are the owners perhaps kind of banking on Jurgen Klopp's ability a little bit too much? Or are we in for a pleasant surprise, and is there going to be a couple of signings? And I'm willing to wait it out a little bit longer, of course. I'm willing to sit back and see how this unfolds, but I would be lying if I said to you guys that I wasn't anxious and I wasn't sitting here a little bit pissed off about our lack of laying down a marker as Premier League champions, laying down the marker as a club who have brought in a hell of a lot of money over the last few years, laying down the marker as a club who have just started a brand new deal with Nike that we get 20% of all Nike branded Liverpool merchandise that's sold. A lot of income, a lot of revenue streams, and yes, I know there's a loss of somewhere between 80 and 150 million quid from the coronavirus. I get that, but there is a lot of stuff that has become clearer as well. We know roughly what the Nike kit deal is going to entail now. The club will see the numbers of the shirt sales coming in. I spoke to you guys earlier on about October potentially being a date where a quarter of Anfield could be full, 25,000 people, something like that. No, sorry, 12 and a half. Again, Craig being in the day, 12,500 people potentially for the Sheffield United game. What do you feel? How are you feeling out there? And don't just give me FSG out, because that's not even worth the time of day. How are you feeling about this? Are you as annoyed or frustrated as I am? Do you know what? Annoyed probably isn't the word. Worried is the word, which is a weird thing to say, about a team, a group of players that have won the European Cup, the Super Cup, the Club World Cup and the Premier League, and almost been untouchable at times. But we haven't looked the same since the Premier League reconvened after the enforced break. Now, whether that's because Manchester City lost to Chelsea, we won the league title and the players dropped it down a gear, I don't know. Whether that's because there's no fans inside the stadium and that's impacting Liverpool more than other teams because we use the Kop as our 12th man, I don't know. But we haven't looked the same. And nobody can come on and say otherwise. We haven't. We've looked flat. We've looked void of ideas at times. Against Arsenal, look, let's be frank about this. That Arsenal team that was put out on that pitch in the Community Shield against the 11 that we put out, we should have battered them. We should have absolutely destroyed them, but we didn't. And we looked lifeless in the first half. And we looked like we hadn't got an idea or a game plan of what we were about. We improved in the second half, but it just wasn't the Liverpool that we're used to. And a couple of fresh signings could sort that out. And most importantly, and this is the thing that gets me about it, and I touched on it yesterday and there's a video out about this, I love our front three, but they need somebody putting pressure on them. They need somebody breathing down the back of their neck and saying, I'm here and I'm ready. As soon as you make a mistake, buddy, I'm taking your shirt because I'm backing myself. That's where I am. I want to know where you guys are. Lens-based media said frustrated but can't kick off until their way of doing business doesn't work. Catch-22 is if their way doesn't work, maybe too late to turn it around. No fans in the stadium helps the owners against the backlash. It's a very fair point, and it is you've summed up exactly what the problem is. It's too late to know if it's the wrong decision when it happens, but it's also a situation now as we can rectify it before it happens. So yes, I get where you're coming from. It's very difficult to be moaning when we are the Premier League champions and we haven't kicked the football yet in the new season. I feel that and I hear that, and it makes very good sense. But I also like to think that Liverpool fans are fairly well educated in the game, and we know what we're looking at, and we're no fools. And I'm not saying anyone's trying to take us for fools, but yeah, look, everyone's strengthening. Everybody around us is strengthening. We have to do it, sure. We have to go out and do some business in this window. And not just business for the sake of business. I'm not somebody that expects Klopp just to go out and make a signing for the sake of it. But there are areas we know need to be addressed. We need to fill the centre-back spot. We need to get another attacker in my opinion. And then, of course, the Thiago Genie thing is the other one. Do we need new owners, said Nageb? My answer to that, mate, would be no. I mean, as things stand, we aren't up shit creek. Do you know what I mean? We're still a very good team with very good owners, in my opinion, who've delivered a lot of stuff to the football club. I mean, you've probably seen the video floating around as well of the new training facility at Kirby that looks absolutely fantastic. They invested 50 million quid in that. They obviously built a new main stand. The Annie Road end's going to be done. You know what they've done. You don't need me to tell you. But they've always been honest and said that they will spend within their means. Now, there's two other things that suggest that maybe it'll be a quiet enough summer. I read something earlier on that they're not, when I say earlier on, I mean earlier on in the window, that they're not happy at the thoughts of not having to spend money in Boston. And I don't know if they furloughed or laid off staff over there with the Red Sox. I don't pay much attention to it, to be honest. But that it would look bad on this side of the pond if Liverpool are going out there and dropping money and the Red Sox can't. My answer to that is I really couldn't give a flying F about the Boston Red Sox and whether they have money or not. And I'm sure Boston Red Sox fans feel the same way about Liverpool fans, in that they're two separate entities, and I don't think they really should be linked in any way, shape or form, other than John W. Henry and FSG happen to be the principal owners of both. Then the second part is, of course, the backlash from Liverpool fans when they furloughed staff. They reversed that decision. They knew it was a massive PR gaffe, but they also said that there are financial implications to that and they have to shell out on wages. And I'm very aware of that as well. But I still think Liverpool fans are being reasonable in their expectations. We've measured our expectations. Nobody's expecting Liverpool to go out there in this window and sign Jadon Sancho. Nobody's expecting us to go out there and sign Kylian Mbappe. Nobody expected us to match the money that was put down on the table for Kai Havertz. But we are expecting somebody to go out there and get somebody like Sarr, Daka, Thiago, a fourth choice centre back to come in. These are all things that we should be able to afford. Players sub 50 million quid. That should be capable for Liverpool Football Club. Surely, Jesus, it has to be. I mean, if we're still sitting here in 2 weeks' time and we're still talking about this, I think that the anger levels from everybody will have ratcheted it up a little bit. But hopefully, we've got a nice little shiny sign and something to talk about soon.